The strongest cadet in the academy chose a human as his opponent, because he thought it would be an easy win. 3 tests later, the entire classroom realized they had made a fatal mistake. Look, I am not saying I was the worst cadet at Galactic Defense Academy, but I definitely was not winning any awards for excellence either. Name is Velkoth, mid-tier Kren with blue scales that shimmer when I am nervous, which unfortunately happens more often than I would like to admit. My species? We are decent at most things, exceptional at nothing, which basically makes us the galactic equivalent of that student who always gets a B-. Not great, not terrible, just there. The Advanced Combat Tactics classroom was located on the 47th floor of the Academy's main spire. All sleek metal walls and holographic displays that made everything look far more impressive than it actually was. Rows of seats curved around a central arena platform, because apparently watching your classmates potentially embarrass themselves was considered educational. The air smelled like recycled oxygen, and whatever cleaning solution they used on the floors, sharp and chemical, with just a hint of someone's lunch from 3 periods ago. I slid into my usual seat, 3rd row, left side next to Thurix. Now Thurix was a Vorton, built like someone had decided to stack muscle on top of muscle, and then add some more muscle just for fun. Gray skin, 4 arms and an ego that could fill the entire classroom twice over. He was good at combat, I will give him that, but he also never let anyone forget it for more than 5 seconds at a time. Another day of showing these weaklings how real warriors operate, Thurix announced, cracking his knuckles on all 4 hands simultaneously. The sound echoed through the classroom like small bones breaking. Charming. Cora, sitting on my other side, just rolled her 3 eyes. She was a Thessian, tall and willowy with silver skin that reflected light in weird, unsettling ways, skeptical about everything, which honestly made her the smartest one among us. You know the instructor can hear you, right? She muttered, her translator chip rendering her clicks and whistles into perfectly understandable galactic common. Let him hear, Thurix said, leaning back in his seat with the confidence of someone who had never been properly humbled. What is he going to do? Give me extra training. I welcome it. I said nothing, because that is what mid-tier students do. We survive by keeping our heads down and our mouths shut, riding that comfortable wave of mediocrity straight to graduation. Besides, Thurix in a good mood was barely tolerable. Thurix in a bad mood? Absolutely insufferable. The door to the classroom hissed open, and that is when everything got interesting. She walked in, and I do mean walked, not glided or scuttled or slithered or any of the other million ways species moved through the galaxy. Just walking. 2 legs, 2 arms, short compared to most of us, with brown skin and dark hair pulled back into some kind of tail thing. Her uniform was standard academy issue, but somehow it looked different on her, simpler, less decorated, human. The entire classroom went quiet, and not the good kind of quiet. This was the kind of quiet that happens right before someone says something incredibly stupid. Oh, look, Thurix said, his voice dripping with amusement. They finally sent us one of the soft worlders. I heard they were letting humans into the academy now, but I thought it was a joke. Cora leaned forward, studying the human with the intensity of someone examining a particularly confusing art piece. Cassidy Rains, she read off her datapad. Exchange program from Earth. They are smaller than I expected. The human. Cassidy did not react to any of this. She just found an empty seat near the front, sat down, and pulled out her own datapad like this was the most normal thing in the universe. No defensive posturing, no nervous glances around the room, nothing. Just calm. That should have been our first clue, honestly. Soft worlders, Thurix repeated, louder this time, making sure everyone could hear. That is what we call them, you know. Their planet has barely any predators, comfortable gravity, stable weather. They evolved in paradise and now they think they can run with the rest of us. Several other cadets laughed. That mean-spirited kind of laughter that makes you feel slightly dirty for hearing it. I did not laugh, but I did not defend her either. Mid-tier students do not make waves. Remember, Cassidy still did not turn around. Her posture remained relaxed, almost bored, like she had heard all of this before and found it about as threatening as a light breeze. That made Thurix even more irritated, because nothing bothers a bully more than being ignored. Hey, he called out, human, you understand me, or do you need me to speak slower? Finally, she turned. Her face was calm, almost pleasant, with dark eyes that seemed to take in everything about Thyrix in about half a second. Then she smiled, just a little at the corners of her mouth. "I understand you perfectly," she said, her voice clear and measured. "Thank you for your concern, though. Very thoughtful." The sarcasm was so subtle that half the class missed it entirely. Thyrix definitely missed it. He just grinned, showing all of his teeth, which in Vorten culture was absolutely a threat display. "Well then," he said, settling back into his seat with smug satisfaction. "This should be entertaining." Instructor Von Reck entered the classroom exactly 3 minutes later, which was exactly on time, because Von Reck did everything exactly on time. He was a Kaldorian, which meant he looked like someone had crossed a bear with a tank and then given it anger management issues. Thick gray fur covered most of his visible body, and his face was all sharp angles and scars. Lots of scars, the kind you get from actually surviving combat, not from training simulations. Everyone shut up immediately. Even Thyrix, who feared exactly 2 things in the entire universe, his mother and Instructor Von Reck. "Paired combat assessment today," Von Reck announced, his voice like gravel being crushed under boots. "No preamble, no warm-up, just straight to business. You will choose partners. You will face scenarios designed to test coordination, adaptability, and tactical thinking. Those who fail will repeat this course next term." A collective groan went through the classroom, because nobody wanted to repeat advanced combat tactics. The first time was bad enough. "Choose your partners now," Von Reck continued, crossing his massive arms. "You have 30 seconds. Before anyone else could move, Thyrix shot to his feet like he had been launched from a cannon. "Instructor, I volunteer to partner with the human." The way he said human, you would think he was talking about a training dummy, not an actual sentient being. Several cadets snickered, and I will admit, I was one of them. Not proud of it. But honesty is important in these kinds of stories, right? Von Reck's eyes, which were a disturbing shade of yellow, fixed on Thyrix for a long, uncomfortable moment. "You are certain about this choice, Cadet Thyrix?" "Absolutely, sir," Thyrix said, somehow managing to sound respectful and condescending at the same time. It was almost impressive. "I believe it will be educational for both of us." More snickering. Cora leaned over to me, whispering, "He is going to crush her. This is going to be painful to watch." "Maybe she will surprise us," I whispered back, though I did not believe it myself. Mid-tier optimism. You know, hope for the best, expect the mediocre. All eyes turned to Cassidy. She had not moved from her seat, had not changed expression, had not done anything except listen. Now she stood up slowly, smoothly, and nodded once. "I accept." 2 words. That was it. No protest, no hesitation, no asking for different terms. Just acceptance. Thyrix's grin got even wider, which I did not think was physically possible. "Excellent. This will be over quickly." "Indeed," Cassidy said, and again that subtle tone that could have meant absolutely anything. Von Reck gestured toward the central arena platform, and the floor began to reconfigure itself. Panels slid away, holographic projectors hummed to life, and suddenly we were looking at a full combat simulation arena. The space expanded, or at least appeared to expand, into a huge environment complete with terrain variations, obstacles, and environmental hazards. Standard Academy tech, but still impressive every single time. "The assessment will consist of 3 challenges," Von Reck explained, his voice cutting through the excited murmuring of the class, each designed to test different combat competencies. "Cadet Thyrix, as the challenger, you may choose the parameters for each challenge." Oh, that was just cruel. Giving Thyrix control meant he could pick scenarios specifically designed to make himself look good and the human look bad. I glanced at Cassidy to see if she understood the disadvantage she was facing. She did. Her expression said she absolutely understood. She just did not seem to care. "First challenge," Thyrix announced, stepping onto the platform with the swagger of someone who had already won. "Obstacle course with gravitational shifts. Let us see how well soft-worlders handle real physics." Cadets around me immediately started pulling out their data pads, and I realized with a sinking feeling that they were placing bets. Actual bets, on how badly the human would lose. 10 credits says she does not finish. Someone behind me said. "I will take that action," another voice responded. 5 credits says she finishes but scores bottom 20 percentile. "Anyone betting she actually wins?" That got genuine laughter, The kind that echoes through a room and makes you feel like you are in on a joke even if the joke is terrible. Nobody took that bet, not even me, and I was usually good for stupid wagers. Cora was calculating something on her data pad. Her 3 eyes narrowed in concentration. Gravitational shifts favor species with advanced equilibrium organs. Vortons have 4. Humans have. What? The standard 2 inner ear structures. She is going to fall on her face within the first minute. I nodded, because that made sense. Logical, even. Humans came from a stable gravity world. They were not built for this kind of challenge. Cassidy stepped onto the platform across from Thyrix, rolling her shoulders once like she was working out a minor stiffness. She looked small next to him, almost fragile. He probably had 3 times her body mass, 4 times her arm span, and decades of evolutionary advantage in every relevant category. Ready to embarrass yourself in front of the entire class? Thyrix asked, loud enough for everyone to hear. Showing off. Naturally, Cassidy tilted her head slightly, and for just a moment I saw something flicker across her face. Not anger, not fear, just amusement, maybe. I am ready when you are, she said simply. Von Erich raised one massive hand. Arena configured, gravitational shifts set to random intervals. Obstacle course locked in, begin on my mark. The room went absolutely silent, except for the hum of the holographic projectors and the quiet clicking of final bets being placed. Thyrix cracked his knuckles again, all 4 hands, that same bone-breaking sound. Cassidy just breathed, slow and steady. 3, Von Erich counted. 2, 1. His hand dropped. Mark. Thyrix launched himself forward like a missile with anger issues, and I have to admit, he was impressive. The obstacle course materialized around him in sections, walls that shifted angles, platforms that appeared and disappeared, gravity zones that pulled in different directions. One moment you were running normally, the next moment you were sideways, then upside down, then weightless. He handled it like he was born for it. His forearms gave him extra grip points. His Vorton balance organs kept him oriented no matter which way gravity pulled, and his sheer strength meant he could power through obstacles that would stop smaller species cold. He vaulted over a wall just as gravity reversed, twisted midair to grab a handhold that appeared for exactly 2 seconds, then launched himself toward the finish platform. His time flashed on the holographic display, 42.3 seconds. The class erupted in cheers, whoops, and congratulatory shouts. Thyrix landed on the finish platform, barely breathing hard, and raised all 4 arms in victory. Let us see the soft world our match, that he announced, grinning at Cassidy. She was stretching. Not nervously, not frantically, just methodically working through her muscles like she had all the time in the universe. Shoulders, back, legs, ankles. Clinical, almost. Note the confidence, Cora muttered beside me. Or the complete lack of understanding about what she is facing. Hard to tell which. Cassidy stepped up to the starting line, and the arena reset itself. Same course, same gravitational chaos, same impossible difficulty. Von Erich watched her with those unsettling yellow eyes, his expression completely unreadable. Begin, he said. What happened next made absolutely no sense. Cassidy did not power through the course like Thyrix had. She did not rely on superior strength or specialized organs or any evolutionary advantage. Instead, she flowed. That is the only word I can use. She anticipated the gravity shifts like she could see them coming, adjusted her momentum before the platforms disappeared, and used the obstacles themselves to maintain her speed. When gravity reversed, she did not fight it. She used it, rolling with the change and converting it into forward motion. When a wall appeared, she did not vault over it. She ran up it at an angle, pushed off with 1 foot, and grabbed a handhold that I did not even see was there. It was not strength. It was not special biology. It was adaptation happening in real time, right in front of us. She hit the finish platform, landed in a crouch, and stood up smoothly. The time display flickered, 38.7 seconds. The classroom went dead silent. Thyrix stared at the display like it had personally insulted his entire family lineage. That is not possible. She must have gotten lucky with the gravity sequence. The random generator probably gave her an easier pattern. The patterns are identical for both competitors, Von Erich said flatly. That is standard assessment protocol. Then the timing system malfunctioned. Thyrix insisted, his voice rising. Several of his friends nodded along, because of course they did. There is no way a human, with their primitive balance biology, could move through gravitational shifts faster than a Vorton. We have 4 equilibrium organs. 4. They have 2. Cassidy was breathing harder than Thyrix had been. I noticed. She was not superhuman, excuse the pun. She was just efficient. Every movement calculated, every energy expenditure measured. While Thyrix had bulldozed through with raw power, she had threaded the needle with precision. Perhaps we should check her equipment, someone suggested from the back. Maybe she has illegal enhancements. Von Erech's expression darkened, which was impressive considering he already looked like he was perpetually angry. Are you questioning the integrity of my assessment, Cadet? The classroom went even quieter if that was possible. Nobody questioned Von Erech's assessments, not if they valued their grades or their limbs. No, sir, the cadet mumbled. Just trying to understand the results, sir. I was trying to understand them too, honestly. My scales were doing that shimmering thing they do when I am nervous, which meant I probably looked like a disco ball having an existential crisis. Something about this did not add up. Humans were not supposed to be better than us at physical challenges. That was not how the galaxy worked. They were the newcomers, the soft-worlders, the species that evolved in comfortable conditions. Yet there she was, standing calmly on the finished platform while we all tried to explain away what we had just witnessed. Cassidy looked directly at Thyrix, and her expression was still perfectly neutral. Would you like to continue with the second challenge? She asked, her tone suggesting she already knew the answer. Thyrix's gray skin had gone darker, which in Vortins usually meant either extreme anger or extreme embarrassment. Possibly both. Yes, he growled. Next challenge. Now, this was going to get worse before it got better. I could feel it in my scales. Cora leaned forward, her 3 eyes gleaming with what I recognized as calculated malice. Weightlifting in variable gravity, she suggested, her voice carrying across the arena. That should settle this quickly. Thyrix latched onto the idea immediately, because of course he did. Perfect. Strength is measurable. Objective. No room for lucky timing or convenient gravity sequences. He flexed all 4 arms simultaneously, muscles rippling under gray skin. My species has muscle density 3.2 times that of baseline humanoid species. This will not even be close. Other cadets were nodding, recalculating their bets, murmuring agreement. The logic was sound after all. Vortons were built like biological tanks. Humans were, well, not. They looked breakable, soft, like they would crumple under serious physical stress. Finally, a real test, someone behind me said. Let us see how the soft-worlder handles actual weight. Thyrix turned to Cassidy, and his grin had transformed into something uglier, meaner. You know, on most worlds humans work administrative jobs, paperwork, logistics, computer systems, safe, comfortable, indoor work, because your bodies simply cannot handle the physical demands that real warrior species take for granted. No shame in admitting that. Soft-worlder, you could withdraw now, save yourself the humiliation. The insult hung in the air, and I waited for Cassidy to react, to show anger, or fear, or literally anything that would indicate she understood she was being mocked. Instead, she just nodded slowly, like Thyrix had made an interesting academic point. That is true, she said calmly. Many humans do work those jobs, very observant. The agreement threw Thyrix off his rhythm. He had clearly expected an argument, something he could use to wind himself up further. Well, good. As long as you understand your limitations. Oh, I understand limitations very well, Cassidy replied. And again that subtle tone that could have meant absolutely anything. Von Erech reconfigured the arena. 2 platforms rose from the floor, each with a set of weights, calibrated to adjust their mass through artificial gravity manipulation. Standard military equipment, designed to test maximum lift capacity under varying conditions. The gravity would shift randomly, making the weights heavier or lighter, forcing the lifter to adapt constantly. 3 lifts each, Von Erech announced. Total combined weight under variable gravity, highest total wins. Thyrix stepped up first, naturally. He grabbed the weights with 2 arms, braced with the other 2, and lifted. The display showed the mass, 240 kilograms at standard gravity. Then the gravity shifted upward, and he was suddenly lifting 300 kilograms. His muscles strained, his face contorted, but he held it, lifted it, completed the class cheered. I cheered. Even Cora looked impressed. His second and third lifts were similar, all raw power and determination. His final total flashed on the display, 890 kilograms combined under variable conditions. Thurix stepped back, breathing hard but triumphant. "Your turn, human. Try not to hurt yourself." Cassidy approached the platform, and I noticed something odd. She was not trying to psych herself up, not preparing like Thurix had. She was observing, watching the gravity fluctuation patterns on the display, calculating something in her head. She gripped the weights, and immediately I could see the difference. Her stance was different, weight distributed oddly, angles that did not match what we learned in training. "Before I begin," she said, not straining at all, "quick question. Are we testing maximum explosive strength, or practical load capacity?" Thurix laughed. "Does it matter? You will lose either way." "It matters," Cassidy said. Then she lifted. Not the way Thurix had, all aggression and force. She used leverage, found the mechanical advantage in her body position, and let physics do half the work. When gravity shifted, she shifted with it, maintaining efficiency rather than fighting against the change. Her first lift matched Thurix's weight exactly. "Luck," someone muttered behind me. Her second lift exceeded his by 20 kilograms. The muttering stopped. Her third lift she paused halfway, held the position while gravity fluctuated twice, then completed it smoothly. The total flashed 930 kilograms. My scales were shimmering so much I probably needed sunglasses. This was not making sense. None of this was making sense. "Human muscles," Cassidy explained, setting the weights down carefully, "evolved for endurance over explosive power. We are not the strongest species. We are not the fastest. But we are efficient. We understand leverage, mechanical advantage, energy conservation. Your muscles are denser, yes, but they fatigue faster. Mine can maintain output longer with less energy expenditure." She was breathing hard. I noticed sweat on her forehead, slight tremor in her hands. This had cost her effort, real effort. She was not superhuman. She was just optimized differently. Thurix stared at the display like it had betrayed him personally. "This is you. That is not how strength works." "It is exactly how strength works," Cassidy said quietly. "You are just measuring it wrong." I was starting to realize something uncomfortable, something that made my mid-tier student brain hurt. Maybe, just maybe, we did not actually understand humans at all. Thurix was not handling this well. His gray skin had gone almost purple, which I did not even know was possible for Vortens, and all four of his fists were clenched so tight I could hear the joints popping from 3 rows back. "Combat simulation," he said, his voice tight and controlled in that way that meant he was absolutely losing control. "Final challenge. Direct combat scenario." Von Rack raised one eyebrow, which was significant because Von Rack's face normally had exactly one expression, vaguely threatening disappointment. "Specify parameters." "Predator survival scenario," Thurix said quickly. "Multiple hostiles, aggressive behavior patterns, escalating threat levels. Let us see how soft-worlders handle real pressure, real danger, the kind of situations that make lesser species break." Oh, he was going for the throat now. Predator scenarios were psychological nightmares, designed to trigger every survival instinct and then test whether you could think clearly while those instincts were screaming at you to run. They were not about strength or speed, they were about keeping your head when everything in your biology was telling you to panic. "You are certain about this choice?" Von Rack asked, and there was something in his tone. A warning, maybe, or amusement. "Hard to tell with Kaldorians." "Absolutely certain," Thurix said, "unless the human wants to concede now." Every eye in the classroom turned to Cassidy. She had been standing quietly, letting her breathing return to normal, and now she met Thurix's glare with that same unsettling calm. "I accept," she said simply. "Same scenario for both of us, obviously," Thurix snapped. "I am not afraid of fair competition." That should have been his second clue, honestly. The fact that she wanted the same scenario should have told him something. The arena reconfigured again, this time into a dense jungle environment, all shadows and humid air, and the sound of things moving just out of sight. Holographic, but realistic enough to trigger biological responses. I felt my scales prickle just watching it form. Thurix went first. He entered the simulation, and immediately the predators appeared, sleek, fast, with too many teeth and not enough mercy. Standard Academy nightmare fuel. He handled them exactly the way we were taught: identify threats, prioritize targets, use superior firepower and positioning, textbook tactics, perfectly executed. He completed the scenario in 6 minutes and 41 seconds, emerging from the simulation slightly winded, but victorious. That, he announced, is how trained warriors operate under pressure. The class applauded, but it was subdued now. Nobody was entirely sure what was happening anymore, and uncertainty made everyone nervous. Cassidy stepped into the simulation and the arena reset. Same jungle, same predators, same escalating threat pattern. What she did next was nothing like what we were taught. She did not engage the predators directly. Instead, she used the environment, breaking branches to create noise in one direction while moving in another. She made the predators fight each other, triggered their territorial responses, turned their aggression against themselves. When she did fight, it was quick and brutal, targeting weak points we had never been taught to exploit. It was not honorable combat. It was not fair. It was effective. She used psychological warfare against simulated animals, which should not have even been possible, except apparently it was. She made them hesitate, made them uncertain, made them waste energy chasing false targets, while she controlled the pace of every encounter. The predators never stood a chance. Her time flashed on the display, 3 minutes and 12 seconds. The classroom was so quiet I could hear my own heartbeat. Or maybe that was everyone's heartbeat. All synchronized in collective shock. Thurix stood frozen, staring at the display. His mouth opened, closed, opened again. No words came out. His forearms hung limply at his sides. And for the first time since I had known him, he looked small, defeated, confused. That is not, you did not fight them properly, he finally managed. You cheated. You used tricks. Cassidy stepped out of the simulation, and she was not even breathing hard this time. I used tactics, she corrected. Human tactics. We did not evolve to be the biggest predator. We evolved to outsmart every other predator on our planet. There is a difference. But the Academy teaches, Thurix started, then stopped, because he was finally realizing what the rest of us were starting to understand. The Academy taught us to fight like warriors. Cassidy fought like a human. And those were not the same thing at all. Von Rech was watching all of this with an expression I could not read, his massive arms still crossed, his yellow eyes moving between Thurix and Cassidy like he was calculating something. Thurix's pride, that enormous, unshakable confidence that had defined every interaction I had ever had with him, cracked, then shattered, then collapsed completely. I do not understand, he whispered, and he sounded lost. How? That was the question, was it not? How did a soft-worlder from a paradise planet, with no evolutionary advantages we could measure, just systematically dismantle one of the Academy's top combat students? Cassidy looked at him, and for the first time, I saw something other than calm in her expression. Not anger, not triumph. Pity, maybe. Do you really want to know? She asked quietly. Thurix lost it. Completely, utterly, spectacularly lost it. Yes, I want to know, he shouted, his voice cracking with frustration. I want to know how you cheated. What technology you are hiding, what enhancements you are using, what rules you are breaking, because this is not possible. It is not. Humans are weak. Everyone knows this. Your planet is easy mode. Your evolution is soft. Your entire species exists because you never had to face real danger. He was not alone anymore. Other cadets were standing up, voices rising, all asking variations of the same question. How? How did she do it? What trick was she using? What were we missing? She has to be augmented, Cora said, her analytical mind searching for logical explanations. Genetic modifications, maybe. Or illegal neural enhancements. Something that gives her an unfair advantage. Check her blood work, someone else suggested. Run a full biological scan. There has to be something. Maybe her equipment is modified, another voice chimed in. The weights could have been calibrated wrong. The simulation could have been tampered with. The accusations kept coming, piling on top of each other, and through it all, Cassidy just stood there, calm, patient, waiting for us to finish our collective breakdown. Finally, when the noise died down to angry muttering, she spoke. Are you done? She asked, her voice cutting through the chaos like a blade. Because if you really want to know, I will tell you. But you are not going to like it. Tell us, Thurix demanded. Explain how a human beats a Vortin at everything. Cassidy took a breath, and I realized she had been waiting for this, maybe even hoping for it. Earth, she began, is what you would classify as a Class 12 Deathworld that got everyone's attention. Class 12? That was the second highest danger classification in Galactic Council databases. Worlds where almost everything was actively trying to kill you. Our gravity is slightly higher than galactic standard, she continued. Our weather systems are violent and unpredictable. Hurricanes, tornadoes, blizzards, droughts, floods. Our tectonic plates shift constantly, causing earthquakes and volcanic eruptions. Our sun bombards us with radiation. Our atmosphere breeds diseases that can wipe out entire populations. She was warming to her subject now, and her calm facade was cracking just slightly, showing something fiercer underneath. Our predators? We had cave bears that could crush skulls with one bite. We had cats that could take down prey 5 times their size. We had pack hunters that could run for days without stopping. We had venomous creatures, parasitic creatures that evolved specifically to hunt primates. My scales had stopped shimmering. They had gone completely still, which only happened when I was genuinely frightened. And we did not have 4 arms, Cassidy said, looking directly at Thurix. We did not have dense muscle tissue. We did not have equilibrium organs or armored skin or venomous glands or any of the advantages most sentient species develop. We were slow, weak, poorly armed, and our planet was trying very hard to kill us every single day. Then how did you survive? Cora asked, and she sounded genuinely curious now rather than skeptical. We adapted, Cassidy said sippy. We learned to think faster than the predators could run. We learned to throw rocks with enough accuracy to bring down animals at range. We learned to work in groups, coordinate attacks, communicate complex strategies. We learned to outlast everything else on the planet through sheer stubborn endurance. She paused, letting that sink in. We did not evolve to be specialists. We evolved to be generalists. Good at everything, master of nothing, but flexible enough to handle whatever our Deathworld threw at us. Persistence hunters, we are called. We chased prey until it collapsed from exhaustion. We tracked animals for days. We survived wounds that should have killed us. We kept going when every other species on our planet would have given up. That is not possible, Thurix said weakly. Evolution does not work that way. Specialization is necessary for survival. Specialization, Cassidy countered, is necessary when your environment is stable. When you know what challenges you will face. Earth never gave us that luxury. So we became adaptable instead. We learned to solve problems, not overpower them. We learned to improvise, because the universe kept changing the rules on us. I was having what I can only describe as an existential crisis. My entire understanding of galactic biology, of evolution, of what made a species strong, was collapsing like a badly built structure in high gravity. We are not stronger than you, Cassidy said, and her voice had softened slightly. We are not faster. We do not have better senses or superior biology. What we have is adaptability. When you throw us into a new situation, we learn fast, because that is what Earth taught us. Learn or die. She looked around the classroom, making eye contact with as many cadets as she could. You called us soft-worlders. You thought we evolved in paradise. But Earth is hell. We just learned how to survive there. And once you learn to survive hell, everywhere else is easy. The silence that followed was absolute. Nobody knew what to say. What could you say to that? I looked at Thurix and saw something I had never seen before. Doubt. Real, genuine doubt about everything he thought he knew. Vonrek moved forward, and the sound of his boots on the arena floor made everyone snap to attention. He had been silent through all of this, watching, evaluating, and now his yellow eyes swept across the classroom with an intensity that made my survival instincts scream. Class dismissed, he said. Early. That caused a ripple of confusion. Vonrek never dismissed class early, ever. The academy schedule was sacred, and he followed it with religious devotion. Sir? Someone asked, tentatively. We still have 40 minutes remaining in the period. The lesson, Vonrek said, his voice carrying that edge of authority that made arguing physically impossible, has already been taught. Remaining here would be redundant. He turned to face Cassidy, and for a moment I thought he was going to reprimand her for something, for embarrassing a fellow student maybe, or for showing off. But instead he nodded once, a gesture of respect between warriors. I fought in the border wars, he said, and the classroom went even quieter if that was possible. Vonrek never talked about his service. Never. 3rd Fleet, Assault Divisions, 6 years of combat across 14 systems. Know who I fought alongside. Nobody answered. We were all too busy trying to process where this was going. Humans, Monrak continued. Human soldiers, human tacticians, human medics. And know what I learned? He paused, letting the question hang in the air. Everything Cadet Rains just told you is accurate. Understated even. Thyrix made a small sound, something between a whimper and a protest. Humans do not quit, Monrak said, and there was something in his voice now. Not quite admiration, but close. Respect, definitely. They do not surrender. They do not break. I watched human soldiers fight for 3 days straight without sleep because their position was critical. I watched them carry wounded through hostile territory for kilometers because they do not leave their people behind. I watched them improvise solutions to problems that should have been impossible. He crossed his massive arms and his scars seemed more prominent somehow. They are not the strongest species in the galaxy. Not the fastest. Not the most technologically advanced. But they are dangerous because they do not accept limitations the way the rest of us do. When we say something is impossible, they hear that as a challenge. Vonrak looked directly at Thyrix, and I did not envy my friend that attention. You came into this assessment thinking you were superior because of your biology, your muscle density, your extra limbs, your evolutionary advantages. You thought those things made you a better warrior. Thyrix said nothing. He just sat there, all 4 arms limp, looking like someone had physically removed his spine. They do not, Roderick stated flatly. Being a warrior is not about physical advantages. It is about adaptability under pressure. It is about solving problems when the situation is chaos. It is about refusing to quit when every logical calculation says you should. That is what humans understand. That is what most of you do not. He gestured to Cassidy, who was standing quietly, looking somewhat uncomfortable with all the attention. Cadet Rains did not win today because she cheated. She won because she thought differently than you. She saw problems you did not see. She used solutions you were not trained to consider. That is not a flaw in her approach. That is a flaw in yours. The words hit like physical blows. I saw cadets flinching, saw the realization spreading across faces. We had been so confident, so sure of our superiority, and it had been based on nothing but assumption. The most important lesson you will learn at this academy, Vornak continued, is that underestimating your opponent is the fastest way to lose. Species, size, biology, technology. None of that matters if you walk into a situation thinking you have already won. He looked around the classroom, making sure we were all paying attention. You just watched a human defeat one of our top combat students in 3 different scenarios. Not through superior strength, not through biological advantages, through adaptation and tactical thinking. If that does not teach you humility, nothing will. Cora was staring at Cassidy with her 3 eyes wide, like she was seeing her for the first time. Other cadets had similar expressions, a mixture of shock, respect, and something that might have been fear. Thyrix finally spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. I apologize, Cadet Rains. I was wrong. About everything. It was possibly the most honest thing I had ever heard him say. Cassidy nodded, accepting the apology without gloating. We are all here to learn, she said simply. Today you learned something about humans. Tomorrow maybe I learn something about Vortons. That is how this works. Onrik's expression softened. Barely. Dismissed, he repeated. All of you, go think about what you witnessed here. Next class we will discuss why rigid tactical thinking gets warriors killed. I suspect today's demonstration will provide ample material for that discussion. The classroom emptied slowly, cadets filing out in unusual silence. No jokes, no boasting, no loud conversations about weekend plans. Just quiet contemplation and the occasional glance back at Cassidy, who was gathering her datapad and preparing to leave like this was just another ordinary day. I should have left too. Mid-tier students do not draw attention to themselves, do not insert themselves into situations, do not make waves. But my scales were still doing that nervous shimmer thing, and my brain was trying to reorganize everything I thought I knew about the universe, and somehow my legs carried me toward her before I could talk myself out of it. Cadet Rains, I said, and my voice only cracked a little bit. Progress. She looked up, and her expression was patient, waiting. I wanted to, I should. Words were apparently difficult now. Fantastic. I apologize. For laughing earlier. For assuming you would fail. For thinking humans were less than us. The words tasted bitter. admitting that, but they needed to be said. Cassidy's expression softened, and she smiled slightly. Not smug, not triumphant, just kind. You were working with incomplete information, she said. Most species are. Humans are new to galactic society. We have only been part of the community for what, 30 years? You have not had time to really understand us yet. Still, I insisted I should have been better than that. Should have judged you on your actual abilities, not on assumptions. She tilted her head, considering me. You know what I appreciate about you, Velkoth? She remembered my name. I had said it once, 3 weeks ago, and she remembered, you are willing to admit when you are wrong. Not everyone has that quality. Thurix might get there eventually, but you are already there. That is worth something. The compliment made my scales shimmer even more, but in a different way now, less nervous, more hopeful, maybe. Would you? I hesitated, then pushed forward. Mid-tier students do not take risks, but maybe it was time to stop being mid-tier. Would you be willing to train together sometime? I think I could learn a lot from your approach. Her smile widened. I would like that. And maybe you can teach me about Kryn combat techniques. Fair trade. Fair trade. I agreed, and for the first time all day, I felt like maybe I understood something true about the galaxy. As I walked out of the classroom, my mind was racing. Humans had earned their place in galactic society not through superior technology or military might or political manipulation. They earned it by being exactly what Cassidy demonstrated today. Adaptable, resilient, and too stubborn to accept defeat. Earth was a death world that forged a species of survivors. The galaxy was learning that lesson now, one surprised alien at a time. We had invited humans to join our civilization, thinking they would need our protection, our guidance, our superior knowledge. Turns out, we needed their perspective more than they needed ours. The real test today was not whether Cassidy could prove herself. She already knew what humans were capable of. The test was whether we could learn humility, whether we could set aside our assumptions and see reality clearly, whether we could adapt the way humans adapted. Some of us passed that test today. Others, like Thurix, were still processing. But the lesson was taught, and lessons from Von Rick had a way of sticking with you whether you wanted them to or not. I glanced back one more time and saw Cassidy talking with Cora, the two of them actually having a real conversation now instead of suspicious analysis. Progress. Maybe. Understanding. Possibly. Respect. Definitely. As I headed toward my next class, one thought kept circling through my mind, something that felt important enough to remember forever. Never underestimate the quiet ones, especially if they survived a death world to get here. They did not come this far by accident, and they definitely did not come this far to lose. Humans were here to stay, and the galaxy was going to have to adjust its assumptions accordingly. Good luck to us all.